Hello, everyone. I'm Megan Rejman. Tonight, I'm guest hosting the Made from Scratch broadcast for Gabe Leal. I'm the host and creator of Sho-e-ate, Brainstorm in Progress, a podcast for the creatively minded, where I work through my guests' creative blocks and challenges using unique brainstorming techniques. But tonight on Made from Scratch, my guest is Mark Drozd. Say hello, Mark. He's coming on.
Megan, nice to be here. Nice to see you.
It's good to see you. All right, so Mark is the executive director of Epic, a nonprofit based in Chicago that helps advertising creatives create great work for nonprofits. We'll get into that in a second, but first I just want to take a moment to thank everyone for joining us tonight on the Made from Scratch broadcast on LinkedIn Live. If you don't know already, you can catch the show here on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube Monday through Friday at 7 p.m. Central for compelling interviews with people who are creating great stories with their lives, and we share those stories right here. So, Mark, before we jump into your work, let's get to know you a little bit better.
Ooh.
Do you have a favorite mantra or saying that you think explains how you view the world?
Yeah, actually, I do have a mantra. It's not something that I've carried with me my entire life. It's something that I sort of learned along the way.
Uh-huh.
But yes, I do. And the mantra is this. It's pretty simple. The mantra is just show up. 3 simple little words, but they've got a big, big impact because they're all about action. They're all about being active. I think it was Woody Allen maybe who said that 80% of success is just showing up. Well, he had a point there. And showing up is important because it says that you're going to be doing something. You're going to be taking a step. You're going to be purposeful. And so that's why I like that, and that's why I espouse it and try to live it. Like I told you, I wasn't always that way, but I've kind of grown into that. Because when you show up, you never know what can happen. And
how did that come about? You would go through experiences in life, and you realize I was like, oh, I know why this.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Especially work experiences. You know, where you're trying to get a client, or you're trying to make something happen. You're trying to get an idea off the ground. And lots of times, you show up, you got nothing in your head, but you're there, and somebody says something, and it prompts something else, and all of a sudden you've got some magic happening. And it's one of those cases where being there, being present in the moment of things, you just make stuff happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I also understand that you had another quote. It's a trucking quote.
Oh man, well, yeah. Truth be told, this is a guilty pleasure kind of thing. I'm a deadhead. Okay, what can I say? It's just one of those things. But
Grateful Dead lives on for.
You never know where inspiration comes because one of their classic songs, "Truckin'," has the line, "Your cards ain't worth a damn if you don't lay them down." Mm-hmm. And actually, that's kind of the kissing cousin to just show up. It's a similar thought. It's a similar idea. But if you don't play, you don't get. And nothing happens. And so if you don't act with purpose, if you don't act with intention, you're in no place.
So what do you do for a living?
Well, actually, I'm a writer and a creative director. I've been doing that my entire career. I come from the advertising design worlds. And, within that context, what I do and have done for a living really is I create clarity and connection and action. Is what that boils down to. And, along the way, in the course of that time, I've discovered the nonprofit world. And I got involved with that, and particularly got involved with the nonprofit that I'm the executive director of now. It's called Epic. Mm-hmm.
And how did you get into this? How did you get into this line of work? First, advertising. How did you get into advertising? And then how did this nonprofit become born?
I was an English major. It was one of those deals where it's like, okay, now what do you do? And I love to write and I love to communicate. And I was good at both of those things. I was always pretty articulate and so on. And advertising seemed like a fun thing. But in discovering advertising, what I really discovered was design, which is a bigger and deeper thing. And I like that even more. And I've always loved working with designers. I'm not one myself as a writer, but you think like a designer after a while. And I love the processes, and I love the rigor and the big pictureness of design. And so anytime I had a chance to go in that direction, I took it.
Hmm. And then how did that lead to Epic?
Well, as a matter of fact, I was working with my design and branding firm called Simple Truth, and a good friend of mine, Erin Huizenga, this is about 11 years ago now, called some folks together, and she had this idea of having a nonprofit where people could share their talents and contribute in ways that had some meaning to them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I told her I was all on board. So I was part of the founding board, if you will. I piloted our first project just to see if the secret would fly, and it did. And that was 11 years ago. And so, you stick around at the party long enough, and you end up doing the dishes. And so here I am as the executive director.
So how do you explain what you do at Epic, and how does Epic work to people who may not be familiar with its process, or who exactly gets involved and why, and what happens? What's your pitch? What's your spiel?
My spiel. Here's my spiel. Okay, actually, there's two spiels. Here's the official. Well, before I even get into that, so EPIC is an acronym, and it stands for Engaging Philanthropy and Inspiring Creatives.
Oh, okay.
And creatives is a shorthand for our world of designers and writers and strategists and folks like that. And
who mostly work in advertising.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, we kind of shorthand is we're creatives. Mm-hmm. So that's what EPIC stands for. The official party line is that EPIC teams designers and writers and other communicators with needy nonprofits to create much needed marketing and brand materials. Mm-hmm. And we do that for free.
You do it for free?
Yeah, that's the big buzzword. There's a mantra for you. For free. But yeah, absolutely. But the nonprofit world is large, and there's a gazillion of them out there, and there are all kinds of causes, and they're all worthy. Mm-hmm. And EPIC's view or focus are in three different areas. We work with organizations that serve women in need. We work with organizations that serve children or families, and we work with organizations who are in the realm of education.
And why is that? Why do you have those three sections in particular?
Well, I think that's where the most social good comes. Or those are among the kinds of nonprofits from which social good can come, or from which somebody from our side of the table can contribute, wholeheartedly and feel that they're accomplishing something, for other people, for the community, for their neighbors. Mm-hmm. So we kind of kept it that way because EPIC's all about community, really. Mm-hmm. In our case, the community of Chicago.
Right. Yeah. So that really sounds like that's what you're bringing to the table, and that's the difference that you're making with EPIC.
Yeah. And so what I just said was my spiel. In more game, and that really is, that's kind of our from the heart kind of pitch, and that is that EPIC helps creatives share their gifts.
To create social.
Yeah, because every time you give, you get back, and you get back tenfold. And so sharing the gift is a big thing. You spend your career working to promote products or services, which is fine, but that kind of leaves you a little cold after a while. You spend your day thinking about the problems of the airline industry, or of packaged goods, or of selling beer or something like that, and it can leave you a little cold if you don't feel that sense of purpose or that sense of contribution. And so EPIC is all about helping, like I said, needy nonprofits to spread the word about themselves, to articulate what they are all about, so that they can attract more donors, they can attract more people and participants to their cause. Right. And you see that happen, and it works like gangbusters. And when you do, there is no greater reward than that sort of psychic boost to recognize that you helped do that.
Yeah.
You help somebody
what kind of feedback,
make the world better.
What kind of feedback do you get from the creatives who work on these projects? What do you hear them say? Or what have you said?
Well,
for you when you worked on it?
Oh man, I mean, you kind of jump up and down because it's so exciting. It's one of those deals where there's a night where you have the big reveal of your project, and invariably the client's overcome, and there's tears, and there's just big smile and joy, and the constituents of that nonprofit are beside themselves because you present them in a way that's so much bigger than they possibly could do that on their own.
Right.
And they look big time, and they feel big time, and it imbues them with confidence and with energy. And you can, from the one who's doing that, you can tell.
Yeah.
You never forget that. And so what creatives, it's not so much what creatives say to me as much as what they do, because they come back. They want another hitch.
Really?
These projects are short periods of time. They're typically 8 weeks. Most recently, we've been running them for like 4 or 5 during the COVID times. But it's a short period of time because people have other commitments and so on. And you go in, you do your job, and then you're on with your life. And people come back for more. And
it sounds like it's a great networking opportunity for creatives as well.
Actually, yeah, thanks for bringing that up. It truly is. Because, well, part of Epic, part of the fun of it is you put a team together, and these are people that never worked together before. So it's not like you grab a bunch of people from one agency or from one place. You're like, if I'm a writer on a team, I've got a creative director who I might have heard of, or who's from an agency that I kind of respect or revere, and I've got a designer I never heard of before, and the other co-partners, we don't know each other, and everybody shows up that way. And for the creative director, you got a gaggle of folks who you don't really quite understand their talent, and so you got to find that stuff out, and that's part of the fun. But in the context of that comes the networking, and comes the the experiencing of other places and other creative ideologies and stuff. Because people share, you collaborate, and you'll learn that stuff. And so it's a great thing.
Yeah. So now I know that you're based in Chicago, but because of COVID right now, does that mean that it's been able to expand your reach, and you've been working with creatives all over the country and all over the world, or anything like that? Or is it still mostly regionally located, or how's it working now?
Absolutely. In fact, I have a friend who now lives in LA, Kelly, who said to me, because I was advertising, recruiting. I said, "Hey, Chicago creatives," and she told me, "Stop doing that and just watch what happens." And so I did. I just said, "Hey, creatives, we need some help," and we were getting people from all over the place. We on this last batch of work during the springtime, we got a creative director from Seattle. We got writers from San Diego and Los Angeles. We got designers from Minneapolis and Denver. We actually had someone from Serbia who was working on a team. She's actually from Chicago, but her family is Serbian, and she went to visit and got stuck out of the country during the whole lockdown deal. And so she was working from some random location. I don't even know where it was, but she contributed as well. So the good news, one of the lights under the bushel basket of all this stuff is that in the new Zoom kind of world, in this virtual work experience kind of world, you can reach out to every place, and so our talent pool became enormous.
And it hasn't been difficult, like in terms of organizing meetings or presentations or time differences and all that stuff, like that.
There are moments. I mean, you do, but generally, I memean, people know how to work together, and it's it's business like you do any other time. So you schedule your meetings, you figure out your time zones. Somebody's got has the Zoom Connect, or Epic uses that kind of thing. We share, all our projects on all the the collab tools and all that stuff, and it works quite well. The networking suffers a little, but we'll get back to that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you're still interacting with people more than you would have otherwise if you were still just working your own job or looking for work or whatever situation these creatives are in. My other question is, since this has expanded your horizons with working with creatives across the country and possibly even the world, does that also expand the nonprofits you can work with, or are you still just trying to focus on nonprofits that are in the Chicago area?
Well, in this moment, we are focusing on Chicago. That's where Epic is based. There have been inquiries about expanding Epic's footprint, if you will, to other cities. We've talked with people in New York. We've talked with people in Kansas City, in Denver, in Atlanta, in Minneapolis. We actually had a chapter for quite a while. And so I think that's something in the cards for futures. How do we expand it the other way around, to your point? Because there are a gazillion nonprofits out there, and all of them need the kind of help that the creative world can bring them.
Yeah, and especially since everybody has to be online now, to be able to have some sort of branded presence is really can help you stand out. It can really help express the message. The messaging can be expressed so much more clearly if it's branded and thought out, and maybe there's strategy behind it as to what kind of messaging you should be using and why you're using it and how effective it is and who are you really trying to reach and how are you trying to talk to them, and all of that can be done all through a branded experience.
Absolutely. I think, there are things to pay attention to, like, there are different marketplaces, different regions and things like that have particular issues or opportunities that you could capitalize on if you knew about them. And so there's that kind of stuff to work out.
Mm-hmm.
The potential is enormous.
Mm-hmm. And, what's an example of the kind of projects you worked on?
Yeah.
Talk about, kind of give us an idea of this.
Yeah, certainly. It's funny, you give me pause here for a minute because we've had like 61 different clients and 70 some different projects. I think one that comes to mind though is a Chicago nonprofit called the Dovetail Project. Mm-hmm. I love this organization. It's run by a guy named Sheldon Smith. He's on the South Side. Sheldon Smith, yeah, and their whole purpose is to teach young Black and Hispanic fathers to be real fathers to their kids. Mm-hmm. Young men aged 17 to 25, mm-hmm. Who may or may not be in the position to be present for their children. This organization teaches them how to do that, and they do that by, first of all, by helping them understand how to stay on the right side of law enforcement, and then they teach them in actual classroom structures, how to be a good dad, how to show up for an infant or for a toddler, how to be a good partner to the mother of that child, mm-hmm. and really how to get a job, how to support that family by getting a job, being gainful, and that gets into stuff like interviewing practice, right down to like learning how to tie a tie, all these amazing life skills. And they've been doing this for several years. We started working with them about 5 years ago. We help them articulate what they do. They're starting to get some recognition because their work is so strong. And we help them articulate that a little bit better. We put together a big messaging strategy for them, for the media. Our team built their initial website and did their brand, including their identity and their languaging and how they talk and how they show up and that kind of stuff. And lo and behold, a few years later, we can't take credit for this, but it's a nice story. They became, and Sheldon in particular became, a CNN hero. National CNN's got their National Heroes Awards every year, and Sheldon won one of those. And from there he attached himself to larger sponsorships and bigger support groups. And recently, we had a team work with them again to put together a program for Father's Day, to promote Father's Day on social media.
Mm-hmm. So the CNN heroes, how are they honored? How does that work? Oh, I know we're a little bit of a
the CNN hero. I'm sorry, I didn't hear your question very well.
That's okay. Our connection is a little disrupted here and there. I was asking you, the CNN heroes, what is that about? Like, what makes a CNN hero? How do they get honored? How do they get picked? Or what do you?
Well, there's a national nomination system.
Okay.
Yeah, I know a little bit. It's a national nomination process. They get thousands of applicants, and they end up having a top 10. Yeah, and Sheldon was one of those top 10 for. I think it was the year 2017, I believe it was, or 2018 maybe. Yeah.
So it sounds like he's really developing an organization that creates this infrastructure and this kind of support system for these young fathers.
Absolutely, and that's just one example of what's out there. There are organizations that work with cancer patients. There are organizations that work with special needs kids for putting together camps for them or after school activities. There are programs to help young single moms figure out how to deal with their kids, particularly if they have if the kids have some kind of illness or whatever. There's all kinds of programs like that, and it's like one's better than the next, and they all tear your heart out because you want to help them all, and we do, right, to the extent that we can. And
you try to help as many as you can.
Yeah, and I want to continue doing it.
You were mentioning a couple of other organizations? I remember when we talked before
Sure.
the show, you were mentioning.
I mean, a couple of my other favorites, and they're all special, but a couple that come to mind because I'm just so impressed with them. One is called Culinary Care.
Okay, what's that one?
This is an organization run by a young woman named Courtney White, and it's a program that it's a nonprofit that delivers meals to patients and patients' families who are experiencing chemotherapy. And so people go into a big hospital in Chicago. They'll come in from Iowa, or they'll come in from the south suburbs, or they'll come in from God knows where, and then they'll hang out in these hospitals all day long. And then lots of times they don't eat well.
Right.
They just live off the vending machines. And so Courtney and her organization work with restaurants in the city who donate meals and deliver them to these families. Yeah, it's crazy. And it came, like a lot of nonprofits, this one came out of a personal experience with her, where she had an unfortunate circumstance with a family member, and she was, sitting with them and hungry. And she thought, it would be great to have a decent meal and just like a strength to kind of keep going.
And to have a decent meal or a delicious meal like that when you're in such a stressful situation.
It's the simplest things that have the biggest clout sometimes and the biggest meaning, and Culinary Care is exactly one of those.
And what work do you do with them for one of the?
Well, let's see. We worked with them twice. Originally, we did their whole branding structure, and so I think our team worked on their identity. We developed a brand manual for them, the rudiments of their website, a whole languaging system, stuff like that. Most recently, they did a social media campaign. It was around, I'm a little rusty on this now. It was I think it was around either the 4th of July or Mother's Day. But it was a big donating time kind of thing. And so the team put together a social media ad campaign to donate, also to find volunteers.
Do you find out about any of the feedback of how that campaign went? I mean, do you ever get to hear about how any of these campaigns or these branded materials work for any of these nonprofits or anything?
Usually we're so busy kind of onto the next one that you kind of forget about doubling back. But in this particular case, I do know that I think it was like 126% increase in their from their.
There we go. Power of communication.
Absolutely. This stuff works, because I mean that's the other thing. I mean, the people who volunteer for Epic know their stuff. They're pros. We actually have a vetting process so that we, with all due respect to everybody who's interested, we don't take just anybody. We're looking for people who are solid designers and solid writers and solid creative directors, people who are established in their career and who can contribute world-class stuff.
So people have to submit their portfolio. Their body of work
we screen portfolios, and we have our efforts happen in the spring and the fall, and so as a matter of fact, we'll be recruiting shortly, for the fall, and similarly with the nonprofits, it's the same kind of thing. We vet them as well. We want to make sure that they are. I call it needy, and it's probably the wrong term, but there are a lot of nonprofits that are very well heeled and can afford the types of services that we provide. We want the ones who can't. Any one of our projects, if it was a real client with a real design or ad agency, would be worth probably about $100,000, $125,000 in fees, and that's all pro bono, you see. And so it's like I said, it's a world-class effort. It's world-class work. And, and the request from the client is use it and do well with it.
Yeah,
very good. That's the covenant,
So these nonprofits really get valuable work.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
You were also mentioning another nonprofit that you had worked with, Twist Out Cancer.
Yeah, that's another fave, and it's another circumstance where, the founder, cancer survivor, and went on Facebook or something. There's a backstory, and it just felt like being in her personal space and started to dance, and she got these support videos from people she'd never heard of before, and it made her feel so good, so strong, that she thought that she would take that energy forward. And so this organization is a giant reach out to help people battling cancer to to feel good about themselves, and so you've got volunteers contributing in all kinds of things based on what the cancer patient is interested in. But it's this giant reach out, it's benevolence, this kind of shield of love that kind of comes forward to help people through their struggle and to fight the good fight, to keep going.
Wow, you have learned so much through all these experiences working with nonprofits and stuff. Have you learned any life lessons from doing this work? From
well,
either from working with Epic or in your career when you were
sure.
running your own.
One of the things is, every time you think you know stuff and you are like the teacher, you actually become the student, and the student becomes the teacher. That's one of those things. I think that probably comes from some old, kind of Spy Master show or something like that. But it's true. I've been a creative leader in my business for years, but along comes different kinds of technology. Mm-hmm. Knows that people who are just out of school, who've studied it or whatever, who can grasp better, and so you become the student in those kinds of cases. Similarly, with respect to ideas, they come from every place, and the more you can recognize that, the better the ideas are, and the better they grow and foster. It's not the senior people who have all the best thinking.
Not always top-down thinking.
Not at all. That's just a limited game, and it never gets any place. And that I know. And another thing is that answers emerge. As much as you think that you know an answer to something, or you can construe something quickly, better answers emerge through conversation, collaboration, and the willingness to show up and be game. And that's how things happen. And I guess I'm just going on because there's a lot I've learned, but you also have to trust yourself. You got to trust who you are, trust your gut, and trust what you hear. If you listen hard enough, the answers are going to show up.
How do you learn how to do that? How do you learn how to trust yourself?
I think, it's kind of a leap of faith. I think it's a matter of, is this good enough? You don't know until you put it forward and see what happens. And so I think trust comes from belief, and belief comes from hope. And it's like a big chain of being, I guess. But you got to just go for it. And you put the work in, you put the effort in, you put the listening in. Chances are you're on the right path to a strong solution, whether it's for business or whether it's for a nonprofit or anything, any kind of problem. It's kind of intuitive and it's iterative, and you build on what you got, but you got to start with something.
Right. Speaking of dealing with problems, could you tell us a story or an example about what's happened in your career or your life that you could use to help explain to people how to deal with any kind of difficulty in life or at work? What's your mentorship moment?
Pretty large, a global advertising agency. I had this series of great jobs, great opportunities. I worked in several cities, all stuff.
Mark, you got cut off. We were having a little transmission difficulty. Can you start at the top again? You were starting at an ad agency, or?
Yeah, I spent 20 years working with a global ad agency. And I had a lot of opportunities. I worked in a lot of places. A new leadership team came in, and I was out. And that happens to people. Happened to me.
Happens all the time in advertising.
Of course, yeah. And it's just part of the deal. It's almost like it's like your big initiation or something. Right. But anyway. And so you think to yourself, oh my God, I got to find a job just like this because I made this much money. I got this kind of title. I did this kind of work, blah, blah, blah. Well, I built a second career in the design world, and I ended up being a partner in a design firm that we kind of transformed into a branding agency. And it's not the kind of thing that I planned, but I mentioned earlier, I always loved working with designers. And so I started doing that, and it wasn't quite clear that I was ever going to find another advertising job like the one I had. And after a while, I realized I didn't really want that anyway. I wanted to do something new. And you work with people you like, and you do stuff that you like to do. And one thing leads to another. And all those little goodies, like say money and, the success things and all that stuff, it just sort of follows along. And it's true. I think it was a Bill Gatesism. Somebody like that was, said that you do what you love and the money follows. And it's true.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had, one career stopped with a little bit of investigation and a little bit of, soul search and showing up to it and working with people who I like to work with, who I respected. I built a whole other career. And I would say to people in that kind of circumstance, or in a kind of circumstance where they're looking for change or whatever, you just got to trust your gut and go with it. But you got to stay true to it. There's dry times and there's hard times. That stuff happens, but that's part of the journey. That's not the end game, And and if you have faith in yourself, I think good things can happen. They did for me anyway. And
Right.
So I'm a poster child for that. And so that's when people ask that, that's what I tell them.
Right. Yeah, because at this point, with everything going on economically and stuff like that, there are a lot of people who are concerned about money.
Oh,
And
sure. Absolutely. And you should be. You got to pay your.
Say, take this time to research things that you actually really enjoy. And
Well, that plus, also you got to be active and you got to do stuff. And, you might be doing 10 different things, and it's the seventh one that really rings a bell with you.
mm-hmm.
And you didn't see that earlier, and you wouldn't have known until you start doing it, Or you start doing one thing and it leads to two different paths, and you can choose, and you take one and it opens up a new opportunity that you wouldn't have thought about otherwise. But you got to show up and do and keep, you got to keep moving.
And stay open, be open.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What advice do you have for others who, they want to do something, or they have a dream, or they want to start a company, or they want to create positive change, but they have this word no stuck in their head, or they keep thinking about all the things that might not work out with it, or, they have fear.
Sure.
What's your advice for people who feel like they're dealing with that kind of obstacle to be able to just
Well, fear is,
or
fear is one of those things that is real, but you got to kind of put it in your pocket
mm-hmm.
and keep going. Or maybe another way to think about it is you need to be kind of brave, and you need to confront all those no's that show up for you, because they do show up.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to, try things. And because if you don't, it's like that trucking quote that I mentioned a little while ago. If you don't lay, your cards ain't worth a damn if you don't lay them down. And you got to try, and you got to do things, and you got to be open to yourself and pay attention to what, what you like, and do that, And even if you can't do that specifically, there may be other things, or there might be things you might not realize are related. I mean, great example, not in our industry necessarily. I have a brother who, my smarter brother, who he wanted to be an Air Force pilot. And so he joined the Air Force, and he didn't become a pilot because his eyesight was crappy or something. Well, 35 years later, he retired from the Air Force as a colonel with a specialty in aerospace engineering, which is a field that he absolutely adored. And he didn't know about that to begin with. He went for one thing, the door was closed, hung around, gave it a shot anyway, and another thing happened. I mean, that's an extreme example, maybe, but
Right.
that's what I'm talking about. It's like you think you want this, and maybe the this is a this and a that, or it's over here. It's a little bit different than what you thought, because
Right.
you don't know all the answers from the get-go, and that's the exciting part. That's part of the journey of it. And that's why, again, you keep showing up.
Right. Even though you're not getting the exact thing you want, you may be getting more of what you really want.
Right. You may not know what it is you want, or what it is about what you want that has the special attraction to it.
Mm-hmm.
Just
But if you're in that area, that area of interest, it may not necessarily be in that direct
it might not.
title or job, or
Yeah, it might not.
And
There's times too when people start from scratch. It's like, I've been doing real estate for 20 years, or I've been in advertising for a long time, or whatever, and I want to do something else. That's great, because it's, reinvention is good, and there's that whole idea about, seeing through the eyes of a child and coming from nowhere, and, being innocent again, and learning to make mistakes, and being uncomfortable because you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's a great thing. I was my daughter just moved, and we were kind of cleaning out our old room, and she had a little fortune cookie thing taped to her mirror, and it said, "If you know what you're doing, you're not learning anything." I mean, come on, that's bingo, you know. The elder wisdom of a fortune cookie, you know.
You sound like you're very comfortable with not knowing.
Oh well, it's there's a thrill to it. I mean, it's, you know, it's a razor's edge kind of thing, but that's where, you know, that's where bigger joys and bigger opportunities and possibilities come from. You know, if you can let yourself go, you know, just step off the cliff once in a while to see just what happens, and you'd be surprised. I think people are surprised at what they got inside to keep them going. As a creative director for years, I tell this to my writers or my design team. It's like, you know, go for it. Just what the hell, and
Right.
you know, and people are shocked at how well they do, what kind of gumption they got, and what kind of, you know, what kind of stuff they come up with. It's amazing if you try.
Oh, it's amazing if you try.
How cuddly is that?
I know, I love it. All right, big question. If you were leaving the planet tomorrow to move to another galaxy,
Yeah. Okay.
never to return, what's the one piece of advice you'd leave for everyone on Earth? And you know, what's that? What do you leave behind? What do you tell
I'd say, well, you know, I harken back a little bit to what I was talking about before. I'd say, you know, keep hoping, but keep moving, you know, and keep yourself evolving, and make your breaks, and just guess what? Just keep showing up, and showing up in your life and taking charge of it, you know, and take steps forward. And I think related to that, do I get a 1A and a 1B? Is that
okay? You can add to it.
Come on, I'm losing the planet, for Christ's sake. You know, you got to help me out here. I get more to say about my last words, but I'd also say get involved with others. You know, get involved with your community. You know, volunteer, help people, and use your talent to help people. You can see where, I mean, kind of maybe I'm swinging back into an epic conversation, but you know, the time to do that is now. You have no other time but now, and when you help other people, and when you use your own insights and strengths and gifts to help other people, there's nothing more gratifying. There truly isn't. And so, especially these days,
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So speaking of volunteering and giving and doing good, if somebody in the LinkedIn community wanted to connect with you, what are the best kinds of connections you could be making right now for Epic? What are you looking for? What do you want?
Yeah, thank you for asking. I appreciate it, because we need a lot. Like, we're a needy nonprofit too, you know. Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, I mean, we're always looking for creative volunteers. We need people for our next set of projects.
And that's like writers and strategists and designers and art directors and copywriters
and code strategists, video people,
video
absolutely,
designers,
anybody, all those folks, we need them. We always need them. And if we don't call you right away, we'll keep you in our on our roster, and we will prize your contribution, and we'll get you involved in something.
That's good.
It may take a while, but we will. So there's that level of people. We always need them. But I think even now, as time shifts and even Epic is shifting a little bit, we need to rebuild our board. You know, we need people to help manage the Epic organization, people to help us in terms of vetting nonprofits, to help us in terms of finding and selecting the best creatives to work with, people to help us sustain on our own, you know, in terms of our own sponsors or donors. We need people to be our own marketing team, to take care of our, you know, our Shoemaker's Child website, and our and our own social campaigns and recruiting efforts and stuff like that. We need those folks, and we need that kind of talent, and we need people to want to help seize this organization, you know, by the horns, and help steer it to our next own iteration, because we're in that place now where it's like, what's next? You mentioned earlier, are we going national, or could we do other things? we could do anything, but
Right.
with the people power, we could do any of that stuff, and we need folks to help play.
Decision makers and stuff.
Absolutely, yeah, and leaders are people with ideas, or people with the passion to do what we do,
Mhm.
to help us do it way better.
Yeah, I was about to ask you, what are the qualifications for the people that you're looking for the board? Do they have to be like CD level at an ad agency, or to own their own firm, or can they be a mid-level copywriter at a agency, or?
Well, I think, I think there's a couple of ways to think about that from a board standpoint. As typical board things do. I mean, we're looking to help sustain our own organization, and so there's leadership and fundraising and that kind of stuff that happens.
Mhm.
But there's also committee work where the real fur flies, and where we get all of our stuff done with respect to recruiting and vetting clients, and new initiatives to attract a new generation of creatives and that kind of thing. And so I'll take them all. I mean, senior or junior folks, more and more. We've been around for 11 years, and we have a whole new generation, if you will, of creative audience.
Right.
And so how do we reach them most appropriately? And so
Right.
we need help with that. We need young brains for that. Absolutely.
Mhm. And are you also looking for like account people and like illustrators and photographers and
all stripes? I mean, account people are strong because they have strategic mindsets. They've got strong organizational mindsets. They think systematically and stuff. They think in ways that a gaggle of creatives might not, and so they're vital. And they're strong partners always, just as in agencies. And then similarly, with the more I don't mean to say peripheral, but the more specific skill set things, like you mentioned, illustrators or photographers or code people or whatever. We need them all, absolutely, because our projects are getting more and more expansive. We're taking, as we've been doing this for a while, and so we're taking more chances with respect to the kinds of pledges that we make to clients. But we need the professional help to bring it home, and that comes from all quarters. So I think those folks know who I'm talking about. We're talking to you, you buddy. You are the one, and we need what you've got, and we'll find a place for it.
So it sounds like you'd be open to talk to all different types of people who are creative.
Yeah.
It helps if they've come from the advertising world, because then they understand a certain type of training and grooming and process.
Yeah.
But you are looking for all types of stripes of creative
Absolutely.
people. If they were in the production world, like movie production, television production, would you be open to working?
Oh,
Okay.
sure. Oh, sure.
Good to know.
Yeah, because again, the projects are becoming more interesting. I mean, in these COVID times, projects about how do we reopen, how do we rebuild our business model,
Right.
now that we can't have contact with people, stuff like that. I mean, these are big problems to wrestle, and sometimes they're communication problems, or they, the answers start with communications kinds of answers, or in the very least, helping articulate what the new business model is something that we all in our community know how to do.
All right. So what contact information do you want to give out in case anybody sees this interview and they say, I wanna find out more. I want to contact him. I'm a nonprofit. I'm a movie director. I'm a board or.
Sure. Well, for starters, we were mentioning LinkedIn because this is a LinkedIn program. And I'm on LinkedIn, Mark Drozd, funny last name, Drozd. You'll find me. Reach out, say hello, tell me you're interested in Epic, and presto, we go in contact. Similarly, I'll go online, just put out my personal email, because why not? And that is mark.drozd, Drozd, 1130 at gmail.com.
Gmail.com. All right.
Boom. And I'd be happy to talk with you. Even if you have other ideas, or you want ideas about, doing this kind of work in other cities or whatever it is. Sure. The conversations are what make things happen, and I welcome them all.
Right. Because you're open-minded and you like to see the answers emerge.
There you go. And that's what they do. And we will make answers emerge together. If you just give me a holler.
Well, Mark, it's been so great to have you on the show.
This is fun. We're done already.
You had fun. I did too. And it was so great to be able to hear more about Epic and the work that you've been doing and about the world and how to motivate people and your life mantra.
All this, and my deadheadism.
And your deadheadisms. And I know Gabe usually likes to come on to say hello and say a few words, so he's going to join us. Look at it, he's all clean shaven.
Hi, Gabe.
Hey, Mark. So yes, that's very interesting. I've had quite a few people who's I got a couple friends who actually do non-for-profits that they're actually putting together now. My friend David Pollock, who's been excuse me, he's been commenting on the show. He does one where he actually shows and helps people learn how to cook, and he shows them recipes for people who are on dialysis or about to be on dialysis. So it kind of helps them, figure out a better way to live, because it is a life-changing process once somebody goes on dialysis and has to learn how to do that. So that's essentially what he's been doing. So he kind of wanted to reach out to you because he's been working on putting this together for a while. And again,
I'm sorry, I'm going to catch up. I'd love to talk to him. We actually had a client, one of our earliest and another of our favorite clients. They're called the American Nutrition Association, and they're based in Chicago. We actually very recently worked on a second project with them where we were helping them introduce the benefits of a ketogenic nutrition regimen, teaching nutritionists and dietitians on how to convey that kind of messaging to their patients and so on. Because keto is it's a big trendy type of thing, and there's fact and there's fable about it. And so the ANA was all over with scientific study and scientific proof about how things actually work. And our team put a whole package together to help them promote their training regimen. So yeah, I mean we're right in that same kind of arena too, and education's education. And so I'd be happy to talk with them.
Yeah, so that's one of the main reasons why I kind of love having Megan come on and do a lot of her shows, because really thoughtful guest, a lot of people who are out there really working and helping do things in the community. And that's one of the things I've always told people is, as much as we talk about and all the issues going on even with COVID and all of I still tell people, there's still a way to make an impact. There's still a way to make and change people's lives. And these are just like the direct avenues to people out there actually doing this. So this is why I tell people, look, when I say go out there and make a difference, there's ways to go out there and do things like volunteering for people, especially like for people that you're looking for, right? There's plenty of people that have talents out there that really can go out there, and make a difference.
They can, and there's no better time. And I recognize that, there's a lot of stresses out there right now too. People have lost jobs, or people are, fearful of losing them or what their future is and all that kind of stuff. But yet there is always somebody who is in more need than you are, and who would hugely appreciate, any kind of talent contribution that you can make, one way or another. It connects with those folks in need. And now, in these treacherous times, it's also the most inventive times. Now is the time for innovation to happen, and it is, and it'll and more will happen too. And now's the time for people to look at their own lives and their own talents and gifts and experiences, and think about where that goes next, and how to how to progress despite everything. And some of that can be through how they share.
Yeah, and here's another thing I tell people. I mean, okay, if you have these skills, you might be out of work, but you might be able to go volunteer, help somebody out, help somebody else in another situation. you don't know what kind of doors these could open just by going out and connecting with the right people.
That's
Saying,
exactly.
wow, you have these skills. I see that you're doing it, and you have such a good open heart. You wanting to help out in the community. You want to do things to change. These are usually things that people kind of oversee a little bit when they're going out there to do this, and thinking, well, I'm just doing volunteer work. There's
Yep.
more to it than that. There
Oh,
really
there
is.
absolutely is. There absolutely is. You know, Megan was asked a little bit a while ago about points in your career where things change or whatever it is, or what you learn along the way. And one of the things I've noticed about a lot of nonprofit organizations is that they all come from the heart. You know, these are not people out to make a buck. They're out to share. They're out to change something. They're out to give their heart to make something better for other people, usually because of personal experience or a personal epiphany that they had that was a life changer for them. And when you see that, you recognize that the world is a much bigger and vaster place of opportunity, because it's not all about making a buck, you know. And so people who are thinking about a second career, or people who are thinking about a change of events, the nonprofit world is astounding in terms of how people find the motor to do good and to find fulfillment. And oh, by the way, to find a job and a livelihood along the way.
Exactly.
Absolutely. It's crazy. And all you got to do is talk to any nonprofit, make an appointment, buy somebody a coffee, and just hear their story. And it'll kill you every time, because they're just so heartfelt and so amazing. And these people are such, hero is kind of a cliche anymore, which is too bad. But these folks are heroes. Yeah, it's true.
They are.
Yeah, and that's such and on top of that, it's such an amazing thing that people can actually go out there and, again, like you say, reach out to somebody and find people out in this world who really need the help. They really need that step up, because some people actually have the I always tell everybody, look at perspective. Look at your life. Look at some of the things. Most of the times, a lot of people, my situation, I tell everybody, I'm blessed. So for me to turn around and help somebody else, man, that's just me reaching out and finding the abundant world and the abundance that I'm always looking for. So, that's why I tell people, look into your heart. If that's what your heart is calling you to go do, man, there are so many wonderful organizations out there.
It's true.
You just have to go look, and that's what I tell that's what I tell everybody. Go look if your heart is telling you to serve, man. Again, you don't have to go out there and do big charity drives. You don't have to do all these things to go make a difference, to go actually help somebody else's life. It's the smallest, simplest thing is maybe helping somebody or teaching somebody in a nonprofit space like that. And I love that you're doing that. That's, man, these always kind of conversations speak to my heart. So that's why I always.
Thanks for that. But the real stars of these shows are the nonprofit folks themselves. The ones who are teaching, kids in need about STEM, programs, or teaching kids robotics, or helping in after school programs, or like I mentioned, or food banks. That's another one. We've worked with some amazing food banks in the city for, bringing food and nutritious meals and proteins and things, to food desert communities, which there are more than you'd imagine. And it's stuff like that. It's just, it's incredible. It's out there. It's going on. Despite the negative, political demeanor that's out there these days, and despite all the finger pointing and the frustrations and the are you wearing your mask or not and all that kind of hoo-ha that happens, there are people out there making a difference in big ways and in small ways, and it's going on this very moment. And that's where my heart is. And the more that I or my organization and all the hundreds of people who have helped over the course of time can contribute that way, the better. There's always more need than there is, the help. So there's your formula for success right there.
Exactly, man. That is such a wonderful way. And again, I commend you. I commend all the nonprofits that people actually go out there and do this day in and day out and go make a difference. It leaves for most people, they don't realize it, but it leaves a lasting impact, a long lasting impact beyond.
And it leaves an impact right here. That's the other thing,
Yes.
And you never forget it either. Those are talking about life lessons and all that. I mean, just watching somebody's reaction to something that maybe you helped along the way to make a day a little better for somebody, or a meal a little better for somebody, or whatever it is. It just is the best.
And again, you've had so many examples that you were talking about. I mean, I love the fact that the gentleman you were talking about who's going out there and helping fathers.
This guy's, oh my God.
That's amazing. I mean, and again, it serves a need.
Yeah.
It's find that need, find that whatever it is, and go out there and start filling it, man.
It is, and it was all him. He started by going up on the subway platform and approaching, gangs of guys and saying, "Are there any young fathers in here who want to help their kid? Because I'll help them."
Wow.
Wow.
That is how he started.
That's impressive. That's brave too. You go.
No kidding. I mean, it's staggering. But, yeah, and I remember him telling us that story, and we were in tears. I mean, it was just, this is, holy God, this is what he did. And he had this vision, and he had a determination, and he made it all happen. And so he's helped hundreds and hundreds of young men and hundreds and hundreds of kids who now have fathers, at their back.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Now that to me is making impact.
Yeah.
Gosh, I've always told people, you know what? It's the currency isn't money. The currency is time.
Yeah.
The currency is time. What you do with it and how you spend it, that's how you can go make a difference. That's how you can go, oh my gosh, that is such a wonderful.
Yeah, I think you got it down, Gabe. That's exactly right.
That brightens my day to hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Isn't that something?
Isn't that something? And oh man, that is, I didn't expect to hear that, but that's something that really, really does impact me a lot, because again, that's a thing where you didn't have to go, I need hundreds of thousands of dollars to start doing this. It is me being brave enough to stand in front of a group of men and saying, I can help you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
That's really impressive.
Yeah.
So strong.
Yeah. And then, lots of young men said, okay, I want it, because that's the other thing. You don't know what's on the other side of the ask, and people really responded to him. And as with other, cases too, where, you put it out there and people want to help you.
Yeah. So guys, if you guys are looking to volunteer and you really want to help out, I mean, check out the website. It's right there. Go to www.imepic.org. Again, I can pull up the where you can connect with, which I think a few people have already connected with you on LinkedIn. You can check out the link there as well. And Eric has his email where you can go. If you guys want to just send him an email as well, there's the email address, guys. Reach out to excuse me, Eric. What? I got that in my head because of what we were talking about earlier. Mark.
So funny. Yeah.
So
I put it in your head.
You put it in my head. And sometimes I get that in my head and it goes, I got to get it out there. So, guys, if you want to connect with Mark, and the name is right there standing in front of me. I mean, I can see it on the screen. It just, sometimes it gets in the head and it stays in there and just rattles around. But please connect with Mark, guys. Yeah, it is. So that's one of those, what they call those Freudian slips. It just keeps coming out and just can't get it out. So thank you so much, Mark, man. What a wonderful conversation. Megan as well. Thank you so much.
This has been big fun, and appreciate everybody listening in too. Thank you.
And then as well, guys, please connect with Megan. You can check her out on, of course, her podcast, guys. You can check it out you can connect with her on Instagram as well. There's the connection there on Instagram that you can go in the comments and actually link. You can check out her podcast on Apple Podcasts as well. I implore you to please subscribe and leave a review, because she does have a wonderful, wonderful array of guests on her podcast. So awesome. Thank you so much, Megan, as always. This is your third go around, so you're actually an expert now doing this. So
yes.
yeah. So again, anytime that she wants to go out, and then you can also check out her website, guys, there at www.Sho-e-ate.com. You can go check out the episodes as well. You can connect with her as well on there. She does have a plethora of other things that you can check out on her page. So please connect with Megan, and thank you so much, Mark, as well. Love what you're doing. Love that you're out there changing the world and doing it one person at a time, and that's always awesome. So you got anything to say, Megan, before we get out of here?
No, just thank you so much for the opportunity to guest host again, and thank you so much, Mark, for sharing your stories.
Much appreciated back, Megan, and thank you, Gabe. Thanks for the opportunity, you guys.
Love this. Anytime that we can bring this in here. So guys, thank you so much again for following along. I appreciate you as always. You guys are the lifeblood of what we do here on this show. And of course, we will be back again actually Thursday evening, guys. So thank you so much, everybody, for following along. You guys, Megan, Mark, sit tight for a second. Everybody else, I'll see you back here Thursday evening, 7 o'clock Central Standard Time. Stay safe, stay blessed. Have a good evening. Good night, everybody.
Good night.